That takes actually 30 seconds or so.
Okay.
And still setting up on redirecting. Okay, so, all right, so YouTube is live. And now, Justin,
I am here.
it's 6:59 in a few seconds. I can start recording when has me as an attendee. That's not correct, Sean. Let me see. Let me go to attendees and try to get Sean over here. Let me see. Did you phone in? So I might have to get Sean in. Yes. Okay.
Doyle's on.
Okay. I have to just get Sean in. Hold on. All right. Oh, sorry. Guest allowed to talk. Here we go.
All right. It's
Okay. Can you, Sean? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can hear you. Okay. I'm just,
Excellent. Thank you.
let me rename you.
the only one we're missing is Tommy, and he's not going to be on anyway. So
Okay. Very good.
you're all set recording, Dean? So I'm
No,
gonna
I have to hit the button. Let me just hit the button. 1 second.
Okay.
Recording on this computer. And it does say we're recording and we are live on YouTube. Take it away, Justin.
Okay. First, I want to welcome you all to the Community Preservation Committee meeting. And with that, I will call to order the meeting. I will let you know that we are being recorded and we are being live streamed at the City of Waltham site. We are also going to be recorded by the Waltham Mac channel for viewing at a later date. With that, Mr. Clerk, I would ask you to take the roll call.
You got it. Sean Wilson. You're here, right?
Present.
Oh, I misspelled your name though. Sorry, I'll try to fix that. Amanda Thibodeau.
Present.
Okay. Loretta McClary.
Present.
Bob LeBlanc.
He's muted.
Muted. Bob, you're here. You can wave. You can wave, Bob. Okay, he's waving. Bill Doyle.
Present.
Tom, we is definitely absent, as we well know.
Tom's not going to make it. He plowed snow.
I am here. Erica Durham
I am present.
and Justin Barrett.
Present.
All right, we got 8, which means we have quorum and we can move ahead.
Okay, with that, I would look to approve the minutes of the meeting of November 24th. Everyone was emailed them. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
As presented, Bob?
Presented.
Okay, as presented. We have a motion as approved, as presented, and Erica seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. I'm going to take things out of order. The first is at a new business is the new Light Korean Church. I'm going to take that right now. You're a representative from the New Korean Church. I see Josh. Okay, this was continued from a while ago. I don't have the exact date, but anyway, Josh, you're up.
Excuse me. Mr. Barrett, can you hear me, sir?
I can.
My apologies for interrupting you, sir. My name is Attorney David Messerian. I represent the New Life Korean Church. So if I might address you and or the group and any questions that you may have.
So you are speaking for the church?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I notified.
Yeah, I know. I saw the notification. I didn't know that you were going to speak for Josh, but that's fine. Any questions from the board or the committee? Sean, I would ask you, part of this, of the church's repair was not related to historic. I spoke at length with Morty Isaacson. Do you know anything about it, Sean?
I mean, nothing more than what Mort would know.
Which is, I mean, they're, if I'm not mistaken, they're before us for 148,000, is it? Attorney?
You know what? Honestly, I haven't had a chance to look over their application. I thought this was a follow-up to,
It is. But on the original application.
I believe that may be on or about correct, sir. Again, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that I have the information to and that I'm privy to. I have a request because I know that you have had this on the books for quite some time and have been working diligently with New Life. And I just have a few questions that I'd like to ask that I'm hoping that you
Go ahead and ask then.
You're kind, sir. Again, thank you so much for taking your time. I'm only going to speak very, very briefly. I've read Mr. Barrett's response to them. He was kind enough to seek information from the legal department regarding a situation where the work on the steeple was already completed at the time that the second proposal was submitted. And clearly the board didn't have an answer to that question. The legal department came back with a fairly detailed response indicating that no, you couldn't because that would be considered supplanting under the information guidelines published by Commonwealth of Massachusetts. My difficulty is, and I glean this really from both speaking to the legal department as well as reading their report. You all stopped meeting, and I'm paraphrasing, my apologies if I say the wrong month, but I think your last meeting was somewhere around February, March of 2020. And then you were off primarily because everybody was dealing with COVID. So you were, not meeting over the summer, and that made perfect sense. Unfortunately, during that period of time, the steeple suffered a catastrophic failure, which prompted the building department, specifically the building inspector, Mr. Bauer, to issue a letter on June 26, 2020. That letter specifically orders New Life Korean Church to repair the steeple. He not only cites the statute, but that statute makes a directive that the city is ordering them to fix that steeple. Now,
let me stop you there, okay? The reason it was issued was safety.
I
Okay.
wholeheartedly.
Let's make that plain, okay?
Please, sir, I did not say that it wasn't.
No, I know you didn't, but you didn't say it was for anything else either. So I just want to make it, just get that out.
I'm not suggesting, and I'm unclear of your criticism, but I'm not suggesting that the building inspector did something wrong.
Okay, all right, fine.
Not at all. In fact, that's the building inspector is doing his job. If he sees an unsafe condition, and Mr. Barrett, thank you for bringing that up, actually. Clearly, Mr. Barrett feels that it was an unsafe condition, and I agree. The building inspector said, fix this immediately. That's what the letter says, which is what they did. Now, problematically, you have the city on the one hand saying, fix this immediately. The board itself is not meeting over the summer, so there's no way to contact the board and ask the board what they want to do. I would suggest the following question to all members of the board. If you were directed by the city to do something and their head official told you to do it, what would you do? They did precisely what the city asked them to do. Now, I would point out that the direction to travel was unclear. That's what necessitated Mr. Barrett to go to the legal department and say, hey, this is a very unique situation. We're not sure what we should do here. Unfortunately, I believe that in explaining that problem, I don't think the legal department was ever apprised that the city had already ordered that the steeple be fixed. So it seems to me, and I would guess that it seems to some of you, kind of a troubling situation where you have one branch of the city saying, do X. You have another branch of the city saying, no, we didn't want you to do that. Now, what I'd ask, and graciously to the board ask, to re-ask the legal department the following question. Given that at the time that steeple fell down, they did not have the money to fix the steeple. The statute actually that everybody is dealing with says that community preservation funds shall not replace existing operating funds. And if you look at operating funds, any definition of an accountant would tell you that that's your normal salaries, you know, those kinds of things. After June 26th, when New Life was ordered by the city to fix this, they were forced to go to the Small Business Administration and take out a $140,000 loan. This was not money that they had. This is not supplanting money that they have already. This is merely continuing forward with something that you all would have done anyway. But unfortunately, the building department ordered them to do it sooner. I ask you the question, does it seem reasonable and fair that the city orders them to fix the steeple? They don't have the money. Forces them to take on a debt which now they have to in some way pay for. And I would suggest it's not a normal operating expense. Any of you that live in condos know that would be considered a supplemental expense. That would be considered something extraordinary that you had to go and do. That's what they did. They did that in good faith. They did that because they believe in the city of Waltham. They did that because they believe that that steeple that everybody in Watertown, Waltham, all around knows, they did that because they thought it was the right thing to do. So I would ask you to ask the legal department again. If in fact,
I would like to get this off the table tonight. This is not something that the law department, just to let you know, I asked a specific question. This is for historic restoration. It comes under that category, okay? That steeple has been in disrepair for years, okay? So,
yeah,
and I'm just letting you know, and it needed repairs years ago, just to let you know. And I don't want to debate, I'm just telling you the facts, okay? This is now part of the work that was done, had to be done, no question. It was done there was an application, I'm going to let everyone know, there was an application in to have work done. Part of the work that was being done, just to let you know, attorney, was for work that would not be covered under historic preservation, okay? So this is something that I would like the committee to discuss. I don't want to cut you off. Are you finished? Because I
have just two statements, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
For the record, I would ask you, sir, did you tell the legal department that the building department ordered these people to fix the steeple? Question number one.
In all honesty, I don't remember.
That's an excellent response, sir. It seems that the legal department also didn't have a recollection of you doing that either. And that's a significant fact that somehow got left out. I'm not suggesting you did it on purpose, sir. I'm suggesting you thought you were conveying the information that was most important. But what I am suggesting is that sometimes in legal matters, especially unique ones like this, those pieces of information are critical. You all didn't know the answer, which is why you asked them. Now that you have additional information, I would formally ask that you re-ask that question with that piece of information. Secondly, and this will be my final comment after I close, the comment you're talking about additional work, you're referring to a little bit of siding on the back of the church. That little bit of siding was not the bulk of the work. As you well know, sir, the bulk of the work was the steeple.
No question.
These people did not get this building within the last 2 years. This is clearly a situation where they both needed the money and did the right thing. Everyone, I believe, who is told by the building department to repair their structure would do it. And I would graciously ask the members of this board not to simply push this under the rug because it's a simplistic thing to do and say, well, if we don't answer the question, if we don't ask the question, it goes away. Is that
Okay,
what
yeah,
you
let me
really-
explain.
that what-
There's one.
I asked the board, is that what you really
This-
want to do?
Can I run the meeting?
Certainly, sir.
Thank you. There's one or two ways this can go, attorney. Okay, it can be voted on tonight, or as you request, we can send it back to the law department. And at this point in time, I would like to poll the board to see what the board's choice. Dan, you're muted.
The printer had gone off. I didn't want to make a noise. I have the question. I think there's two facts that, if I heard correctly from Attorney Missirian.
Syrian,
Thank you.
close enough.
Okay. Well, Melnichek, you know. The one is, if we were to send something back to the law department, one is that it was a loan. It's not operating from operating expense. And two, that because of COVID, well, actually, as three, we weren't meeting to address the issue because of COVID. And three, the third thing was going to be that the building department had basically said you could, if I hear it correctly, you can't use a church unless you fix a tower.
No, that's the implication, sir. I have the letter right here, actually,
Okay.
from the building department that orders them on June 26th.
Did we get a copy of that letter?
I assume that Mr. Barrett has a copy of that
No,
letter, but if
no,
you
we don't get a
don't,
copy.
I'm more than happy to email it to the board
Okay.
or Ms. Toole if she'd like. I don't
That'd be
know the
great.
easiest way to get it to you.
Oh, that would probably be if we need it, that would probably be the best to
I'm
Ms.
more
Toole.
than happy to do it first
Okay.
thing in the morning, Ms. Toole, you will have it.
So there's the three points of that. If we were to go back to ask the law department, that's what I would hear would be the things that you would be happy
Yes, sir.
with. Okay. That's all. I just want to be clarified in my head what's going on, what's asking. Okay.
And if they do that and they say, no, we cannot, then that's a decision that gets made. I understand that. I just want them to know all the full extent of all the facts that are available and then make their decision. That's how we do it in the law. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's okay.
Mr. Chair, through you, can I just add a little bit?
Go ahead, Mr. Doyle.
Ask a quick question. So Dan, appreciate Mr. Melnichek. I appreciate the three points that you raised that Attorney Missirian had.
Sure.
And I wanted to. I just want to actually kind of back up. Sometimes, Mr. Missirian, Attorney Missirian, when we're in hearings like this, we'll repeat stuff or ask you stuff for the benefit of the public that's watching. Because
Certainly.
they sometimes don't have the whole history. So if the chair is asking something additional, it's not because, trying to be, because we don't know or something. It's oftentimes to let the public have a little background.
Certainly.
So when it comes to the CPC issuing money and what what we need to follow in these historic restoration things, and I'm kind of asking the commission here as a whole, or maybe Chair Barrett knows a little better. They have to be done in a certain way to comply with the historic, the process, the equipment, the materials, whatever has to follow certain historic requirements. I would say that that would need to be a fourth point that we would need to add to to this request if we were to move forward with another request to the law department, to be absolutely 100% clear that, you know, if it wasn't done to the historic requirements, that, you know, that would need to be mitigated or something. But that would be a part of this request. And I also don't want to gloss over. So that's the one thing I would add to it. And I don't want to gloss over the question that Mr. Barrett had initially initiated here, kind of a poll as to what direction we as a commission want to go in. Do we want to still kind of, you know, show of hands of which direction? I think the direction was ask the law department or move forward with a yay or a nay. Is that kind of where we are, Mr. Barrett, Chair Barrett?
That would be my preference. The longer this draws on, the more difficult it becomes.
Yeah, I think we need to, if we're going to ask.
We do not need the law department to opine to make a decision. That's for sure.
Yeah, we can make a decision.
Absolutely.
We can make a decision tonight, and I don't know, is there an appeal or something? I don't know how that works.
Again, you needed the law department to opine originally, and when they're missing facts, you can sometimes get the wrong opinion. I wholeheartedly agree with you, Mr. Doyle, that any work that needs to be done should be done in a fashion that meets the historic preservation of the building. I mean, that's.
Yeah, and that was the question. Was it done to meet those standards? And I don't know what those standards are. You know, maybe it's our historic department. I know Mort kind of looked at this, Mort from the
Absolutely, and that makes perfect sense. I mean, that is not what they're fighting for.
Yes, it is. Yes. The only way this qualifies, Attorney Messerian, is under historic, and it's got to be done to historic specifications. So yes, it definitely comes into it.
Any work that wasn't done to historic specifications and or present building code, of course we wouldn't expect you to pay for. That's not the issue.
I think what Mr. Doyle is trying to do is find out if in fact it was done to historic standards. And that could be part of the problem. This, again, I would like, go ahead. No, I don't want to, go ahead, Attorney.
No, I understand where you're going with this. And again, I can't stress enough. This is not an issue where they are saying, and I'm making up a story now, just for illustration. I'm not suggesting that they said, well, we'd like to put solar panels all over the steeple and spend that money. Clearly, that's absurd. That's not a historic purpose. All I'm suggesting is that you ask the building, the legal department, adding attorney, my apologies, sir. I don't want to call you an attorney if you're not, because that would, some people might.
I don't play one on TV either. No, I'm not.
Mr. Doyle, if you want to add in that that any monies that we pay for need to be for historic purposes and done in that way and under the CPC's guidelines, of course. Just as an example, let's say that $10,000 of the 140 was for something that was not appropriate. Well, then I wouldn't expect you to pay that $10,000. That would be wrong, and I certainly wouldn't advocate.
Mr. Messerian, to kind of put this try and get to a point here. I think, and it has been a while, and I haven't looked at the specifics of the minutes on this one. I think we left it that the church would go back or somehow we would figure out if the improvements that were done to the historic standards. Commission, is that what we remember?
Sorry, can I interject here a little bit?
Well, wait a minute. I'm asking the commission if that's left it. And then Joshua, if you,
Mr. Doyle, that is part of it. Yes.
Okay, so that's part that the church was going to go back and do.
Well, we were trying to get Morty and I forget, Sean, what's the woman's name from Newton? Helen?
Oh, Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes, right. To find out if in fact, the work that was done were to historic standards, actually, the standards that are required with
Okay.
that is materials and everything else, Bill.
Okay, so that right there is a go, no go. So if that answer is no, it wasn't done to historic standards, then this answer is done for us. That's one aspect of it. And I think we offered to do what we could to help and push that ball forward.
And they took a look.
We've done that.
I did hear from Morty, and they did take a look from the driveway up, and they can't tell. And you would need a bucket truck you'd need a ladder to get up to find out, to be honest with you, Bill.
Justin, in the attendees in this, there's a person named Morton who has raised their hand.
He is, Mort is on the call, yes.
Yes,
Mort
no,
said he'd be
I'm-
watching.
I would like to hear from a committee, an off-committee member.
Yeah.
I will, if you would bring Mort Isaacson in, please.
I'm about to do that right now. Here we go.
Thank you.
Hello, Morty?
Yeah,
Great. We can hear you.
okay, good. So yes, Katie Holmes and I did inspect the outside of the church. And as far as we could tell, the work was done to appropriate standards.
Thank you, sir.
With appropriate materials for where they were. I mean, the church is a funny situation because it's all encased in artificial siding anyway. So it's not, original to begin with, the exterior.
Okay, so if
but certainly the steeple was looked to us to be repaired in a proper fashion.
Okay, so if we're comfortable with Mort's answer on that, and Mort, for those in the audience who don't or may not know, he's the chair of the Historic Commission, and Katie Holmes is a consultant that I believe the city uses for these types of things. So we believe that it was done to the standard. We can check off that box in the application, in the retroactive application. It goes down to the 3 points we mentioned earlier. And I think I want to get back to Chair Barrett's, question of, maybe a show of hands of the committee.
Let me find out if there's any more questions from the committee, Bill.
Okay, yeah, no, sure, go ahead.
Anybody else have any questions? And I wouldn't, will you stay on, please? Any other questions from the committee?
I have a question for Attorney
I have a
Missouri.
question.
Yes, sir.
Bob LeBlanc first, and then who's the other one?
Loretta.
Loretta. Bob LeBlanc and then Loretta. Thank you.
Attorney Missouri, have you had any dialogue with the legal department of the city of Waltham?
My hearing aids, my apologies, sir. Have I had any conversation with?
Any conversation with the legal department of the city of Waltham or any?
I did have a conversation with the city of the legal department, as a matter of fact, and the legal department said, quote, "We cannot answer any question you asked us. It has to come from the board. So if the board would like us to answer the question I'm posing to them, they said it has to come through the board." They refused to have a dialogue with me on this because they said they represent the city, which I understand. And they said that if the city sends us a question, we'll answer, or questions, they'll answer them.
Okay.
And so that's the reason I came this way, because I did what you would ask first, and they went, no.
Understood.
Ms. Dunn, any other questions, Bob?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Loretta.
I guess I'm confused because I thought the original question we were trying to answer was that the money was spent and we were, as the CPC committee, paying for something that was already done. And that because of COVID and the interruption in the meetings being held, that was the question we were going back on, that they couldn't come before us when they did get the order to repair the the property, they had to do it right away. That the real question is, we as the CPC can't pay for something that's already been done. I thought that was the original question.
Well, if you're asking me that question,
No, I'm asking Justin.
No.
oh, my apologies.
And that was, however, I believe in this circumstance, we probably could, it's definitely out of the ordinary in the statute. You can't,
Okay.
however, they
Okay.
did have an application in prior, Loretta. I mean, the application was.
Yes,
the
right. Yeah, I
application
remember that.
When the soffit or whatever it was fell. So
Thank you, sir.
Dan?
Yeah, and yes, and help with my memory too. COVID has been hard on the memory. I believe did we ever actually close out this application, or has essentially still been tabled all this time?
It's been continued. No, it's definitely been.
You continued. Thank you. I meant continued. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's still an active application.
It absolutely is, yes.
Okay, good.
Any other questions?
I have another question, Justin.
Go ahead.
To you. So one of the original concerns we had was that of
Bob?
community involvement of the church. And I think that was one of the things that we told them after they initially came in. And not that I want to bring that specific item up, but has that been resolved? Has that been satisfactory?
And actually, I've done, let me explain to everyone, the part of the what the CPC looks for is if it's going to a nonprofit or something like that, they look, where it's a betterment, and this is certainly a betterment, for the community activity that the applicant supplies. In this case, it's very limited. However, I checked and it does fall under the historic statute. So even though it's a limited as far as what they have a soapbox derby once a year, and they have a coin club once a month, I think, for the New England area. But however, it doesn't fall under the community activity, but it does fall under historic. So we cannot vote it down for their lack of community activity.
Okay, so that box is checked.
I checked on that. Yes, that is.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Justin, I have a question.
Go ahead, Sean.
It sounds like the church got some type of funding or loan from the state in order to get these repairs done. And I'd be curious to know if those funds were in hand when they applied for it, because, just reading over the directive and, from the law department and the memorandum, it specifically says that the fact that the repair was made is evidence that the applicant has sufficient funds to undertake the repair. And CPC funds were not necessary for the preservation. So I'm just curious if they actually had those monies in hand at the time when they applied and when we approved the funds.
Are you asking me that question?
Sure.
Do you have the finances, or would it be Josh, or would it be the pastor? Whoever had if you have the finances attorney, you're by all means.
I'm good. I'm not God. I don't have the finances, and my understanding is, and I know the board will correct me on this, and I'm hoping they will. An application was originally made prior to the steeple and all of that. Then when additional information was made after you re-met, I think it was in September that you came back, another application was made again at that time. In answer to the question, was the money available to them at that time? Yes, because they paid the contractor for the work done. But it's not as simple as they opened up a vault and there was the money. That money came from the Small Business Administration. There's a corresponding note that they have as a result of that. And that was not normal business expense. That was only done because the building inspector ordered them to fix it. The other problem you kind of get into is this: if other churches or whatever you give money to or have given money to, it's not a part of your application where you say, could you have gotten a loan to do this? If you've never asked that question before, it puts all the money that you've given in the past and in the future in jeopardy, because then you're only allowing to give money to people who could borrow the money. And that's, again, they were forced to borrow the money. Can they maintain paying back $140,000 loan? That's, only the Lord knows that. And again, had the steeple
Well, the
not
Lord, and
fallen-
hopefully your treasurer.
Yes, well, hopefully the treasurer, and I'm sure that the treasurer does know, or at least, prays that that's it's going to work out.
Oh.
Again, I know that this is and Mr. Barrett said
That's
it.
fine. I don't go on. That's fine.
No, you said it
What I-
correctly, sir.
what-
It's an
what-
unusual
that's fine.
situation.
That's fine. What I'd like to do is try to wrap this up. I'm not
Yep.
one for long meetings, attorney. Yeah, what I would like to do is ask any other board members have any questions.
I just, there's something I heard that I'm now a little confused. I went back into my records and I see that the meeting of February 11th is when I see the New Light Korean Church application for $140,000. Then we didn't meet, right? I guess we didn't meet. I'm just trying to get the timeline down. And so then you get told.
If I might, sir, I have it right in front of me. February 11th, they hold their first meeting. March 16th, the church is notified meetings are canceled until further notice. June 26th, the steeple has a catastrophic problem. June 26th, the building inspector says, fix it. September 8th, I'm assuming, well, September 8th, my apologies. They reapply for the CPC grant. I'm told, again, this is hearsay, it's what I'm told, that they were asked to reapply. September 14th, CPC holds their meeting for the first time since February, and it's left pending. And then, there you go.
I'm not quite, because I don't have a document from the September 10th meeting. It's at 2019, sorry, 2020.
Yeah.
I must have dated that wrong. No, that's not right. Oh, no, that'd be the 2021, fiscal year 2021, right, sorry. September 9th, there's on the 15th, there's a meeting. I do not, applications, let's see. Again, I see two, yeah, there's a New Light is, again, for now a different amount, 146,000. Okay. I'm confused why we said you had to file again. Does anybody have recollection? I don't want to drag this on either, but
Dan,
Can I interject now, please?
go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, February 2019, you asked us to reapply because you wanted us to get a second opinion on the construction. You wanted us to get a safety inspector to inspect our steeple. You said to include all those costs in the next application that we put in. And that's why we had to reapply. It's because we had to get an inspector out here to check, to make sure the steeple was safe to start construction on, and which he did come out, he did everything. And we supplied the letters of the inspection as well for the second application. And that's why I think the CPC asked us to reapply again.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay.
So let me ask a question here. Aside from the, there may have been 3 or 4 different things, I see kind of 2 big things. We got a determination from the legal department of whether we can do this payment retroactively. That was one thing. And then the other thing was, did it meet the historic requirements? And is that where we are? Those 2 simple questions. And knowing that we believe it does meet the historic requirements, now the question, I think, is are we comfortable with what the legal department told us regarding the retroactive payment? What is that decision and where are we with that? Did they say no?
Well, Mr. Barrett, you mentioned that, I think, and I don't want to speak for you, I thought you had said you could do that given the circumstances.
It would be a judgment call by this committee, okay? It was advised by the city's legal department that it not be done because you're paying a bill, you're paying in arrears, actually. The work has been done and it's been paid for, and you're basically compensating them for work that was done where where their interpretation of the CPA is you aren't supposed to do that. But again, this is a judgment call by this committee. And go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so I guess I'm sort of confused in that why we asked for a new application instead of just all this information to support.
Dan, I think it was the same application with amendments.
Okay,
there was no new application, I don't believe. I think it was the Julie. Are you there?
There was no new application.
Right, yeah, that's okay. So it wasn't that, and there's an important distinction there, because if it's the same application, then the predisposition that it was before COVID and that it was before the collapse and before you had to take out a loan.
And that's my argument.
Yeah.
And again, it's the law department does not agree with that, but that's for us to decide. The law department is strictly guiding. So,
all right, thank you. Okay, I'm clear now. Thank you.
Bob LeBlanc.
Yes, Justin, what I would like to ask Attorney Nazarian to do is, number one, take a look at the fees in the revised application.
Yes, sir.
Take out any monies that are not associated with historical renovation. Number two, if you could get in writing, if you could give us exactly the points that you made tonight.
Yes, sir.
That you would like to ask the law department. Forward those to Justin and to Julie, and I would be in favor. I personally would be in favor of approaching the law department again with your not argument, but with your points, and see if we can get an opinion based on all of those facts.
Certainly, sir.
Okay.
Right.
I also, everyone is sympathetic. The COVID. We realize it's a church. We realize people weren't going to church. If people aren't going to church, there's no collection. If there's no collection, there's no money coming in. I'm very sympathetic to the fact that it's like you got hit with a perfect storm. Okay.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and I think I would be in favor of approaching the problem in that manner. If you could get those points to us, all the dates, all the specifics, which you basically stated tonight. Just if we could get that in writing, I would be in favor. And again, we'll probably vote on this, but I would be in favor of presenting that, having you present it to Justin and have it go on through the process.
Sure, and I'm just asking because I don't know how your information goes.
It would have to go, through the CPC first, and then we would have to submit it to the law department. However,
So, sir, should I send it to you and Ms. Toole?
you can send it to Ms. Toole, to my attention, to Ms. Toole.
Okay, no.
However, before you get the, Josh, do you
Yes,
have a
yes.
breakdown? I had asked, at the last meeting, I asked for a breakdown of what construction went, what repairs went where. And you were gonna try to get the contractor, if I'm not mistaken, to give a breakdown. Do you have that?
I have a breakdown, but to be fair, shortly after that meeting, I got a notice from the law department saying that our project wasn't passed. So,
Well, the law department's not making decisions, Josh. The committee is.
Mr. Barrett, just one comment on that. You keep saying the law department has no decision, yet when the law department through the CPC notified us, they said,
Joshua, hang on one second. Mr. Barrett,
I asked,
I'll get you the information. I'll get you the information.
What I'm trying to do is expedite this.
No, I know that. And
Okay.
I'll call the builder tomorrow and say,
No,
this is what we need.
Okay, that's not, I was trying to get it done tonight, okay?
If I could,
I understand, attorney, I understand exactly.
you're kind.
But however, what's gonna happen is this is gonna go on another month.
I get you.
Okay, so if we had the breakdown, we could possibly get this thing done. Any idea, Josh?
Do you know how much wasn't used on the steeple?
Exactly.
Because the steeple, if you say 20,000 wasn't used on the steeple, then that answers his question. All we're trying to ask is what was used on the steeple?
no, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly how much wasn't used on the steeple itself.
Well, can you give us a ballpark? Mr. Barrett's trying to be very fair here.
I understand that, attorney, and I'm looking at the estimate, but it wouldn't have a detailed price breakdown like that, the one that I have right now.
Well, what additional work was done other than the steeple?
The siding on the back of our building.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Couple
it isn't,
strips.
All right, if that's the case, then I would, we're not gonna be able to settle this tonight, so.
I'm sorry, Mr.
It's not your
Barrett.
fault, and I understand. I'm just trying to get this thing done.
No, I understand
And-
completely, sir.
However, okay, so Mr. LeBlanc wants, you've got the sense of Mr. LeBlanc's questions. We're gonna have to make a motion on that, Bob.
Yeah, can we make a motion on that and vote on that? And if that's the case, I'd like to see it, go that route. And then, like I say, Josh, in the meantime, if you could, monetize, whatever repairs we're not quote unquote historical, maybe we can bring this thing to resolvement.
As soon as possible, sir.
I would second Bob's motion.
Okay, let's be,
Discussion. Go ahead.
Discussion on the motion.
discussion is what is the motion?
Bob,
Just, I want to be, as a,
Bob.
we're,
So we're asking the church to come up with a revised monetary figure that encompasses only the historical renovation work completed. 2, we're asking that Attorney Mizarian forward again a chronological summary of when the application was made, why it was revised, and a summary of the COVID
Yes, sir.
dates, and also provide documentation when the steeple crashed, when the building department mandated that repairs be made, why they had to be made right away, and when they were made. And documentation that the permit's been completed and to satisfaction. Get that to the committee, and we can review it and hopefully act on it.
And we'll leave the law department out of this because they are so backed up, we won't get this back until June. So, just to let you know on that.
Are you sure that, within the covenant of the CPC that payments can be made retroactively?
They're not supposed to be, but again, this is an extraordinary case. So
Right.
are we doing, if it were ordinary, no, we couldn't do it. But this is, again, extraordinary because of COVID. So all bets are off on that, Bob. Is it the wrong thing to do? Yeah, probably. But would we get in trouble? Probably not. I mean, my feeling is where we didn't have meetings and they couldn't get the thing done. There's a fairness factor in this thing, and they had the application in. So I'm not in favor of the full payment, but we should really take a good look at it and go from there. And I would have liked to have done it tonight because, again, I want to keep the law department out of it because, again, I talked to them today and they've got work. We wouldn't get it back until June. So
If I had the number, sir, I'd give it to you. My apologies.
I understand that, and I can't blame you. Don't worry about it.
I didn't think to ask for it. That's my fault, but I'll get it to you.
Okay.
So I think if you could still get us that information, Attorney Mazurian, Josh, we'll be ready to act on it
The next meeting.
As soon as we're
Okay.
done here, I'll set up a meeting with
Okay.
the church, and tomorrow, the next day, and we'll square it away.
All right, then I would look for a motion to continue this till
I'll
the
make
next
that
meeting.
motion.
Okay, Bob
Second.
made the motion, second by Erica. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So if you get us that information,
Yes,
you're
sir.
welcome back next meeting in March. Julie, what's the date? The 7th? No, it's not. Couldn't be the 7th. 14th?
I think it's the 9th again.
The 9th. You're right. Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
March 9th.
If I may get it to you by Monday, is that?
It doesn't. We'll need it a week before. That's all.
It'll
So
be-
perfect.
It'll be more than a week before. I just don't want you to expect it tomorrow.
Guess what?
Yeah.
I don't. Okay.
No worries.
Thank you.
Okay.
No worries.
All right.
I'd
And
be
again,
staying up tonight to do it.
get out when you're getting it, please. All right.
Yes, sir.
So, thank you very much.
Have a
Mort
wonderful
has his
evening.
hand raised.
Pardon?
Mort's hand is raised. I don't know if
Oh,
that's from
Mort.
earlier.
Oh, yeah, that's from before. I never put his hand down.
Okay, I'll pull it down. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You're all set, folks.
Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
So,
Take care.
Thank you.
Josh, I will give you a call on the phone.
Next on the agenda is To Life, the Leland application. I am going to have to recuse myself as I am a board member of the Leland. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Erica. Erica, you all set?
Yeah.
Okay, and thank you, folks. Let me just do what I have to do here.
We have to kick him out. There's no room to leave. he can't go stand in the hallway.
I'm going like the.
Oh, he's still there. He's just hidden. All right. Yeah. So I would like to open this hearing. Is there anything, Dan, that I need to read out loud or official information, or just should I ask them to go ahead and present?
I believe that is ask for whoever's going to.
Whoever's representing the To Life, please. You have the floor. Please present to the committee.
Thank you, Erica. I'll get us started. My name is Chris Sintros. I'm CEO of actually New England Deaconess Association. We're healthcare providers in Massachusetts and have served exclusively older adults since the 1960s. So back in 2014, Bruce Burke, who at the time was the chair of the Leland Home Board, who I believe is with us tonight, engaged the Deaconess to support Leland Home in partnership to help with both management, but also, and frankly, more importantly, to help Leland Home find the strategic future for their mission. Over the course of years, we've certainly come to accept, which many of us feared, which is really that the rest home model is not viable in Massachusetts as we're moving forward. That's become really a statewide issue now, and something we can talk about more separately. And the second thing that we certainly came to learn is that the older adults of our community do not want to be served in just in 100-year-old building. The hope and expectation out there in the community is to have privacy, is to have private rooms, private baths, kitchenettes, and so forth. So really, we're here tonight because we believe with a good degree of confidence that we've found the right strategic future for the mission of the Leland Home. And, as we have been strategic planning for the last 3 years, we've done focus groups, we've met with the COA, we've met with some of the city constituents. And the theme that has just come after us over and over and over again has been affordability, affordability, affordability. We engaged a statewide strategic planning support, came back to affordability. We went to a national strategic planning support, came back to affordability. And so, we all know and understand that in any given community, there's great resources for older adults if folks can buy into a retirement community with a $500,000 entrance fee, or if folks can pay on a monthly fee basis, $6,000 to $10,000 a month. But we also know that there's a huge need in most communities, including Waltham, to serve folks who have, frankly, fewer means. So, I couldn't be more excited than I am now that we've really connected with the Two Life communities. Now, Two Life, we've come to know them really through some national conferences. They are known nationally as visionaries in the field of aging services, and I should say in the field of not-for-profit aging services. We've gotten to know each other on the state level a little bit, and I'm just so excited about the model that they create. And it really is a model not just around affordability and housing, but it's also a model that fosters a sense of community for older adults. People have sort of said casually things over this last half hour about the impact of COVID and so forth. Loneliness and isolation for older adults is an unbelievable need to be addressed. And so I'm so excited about what Two Life offers. I'll first introduce Christine Battisti, who is the executive director at Leland Home, and it should be said, spent most of 2020 fighting COVID at the Leland Home, and just should be incredibly proud of herself, her nurses, her aides, that we did not lose one life at the Leland Home this year through COVID. And there's not many rest homes or nursing homes or assisted livings that can say that in 2020. So with that as a start, I'll introduce Christine and ask her to take the mic.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks, Chris, and good evening, everyone. I'll be very brief. I've met you before, have been before you in the past. So just thank you for having me again. And like Chris said, I've been with the Leland Home as executive director for almost 6 years now. And, in that time, this hidden gem has come before you, like I said, for your support. And we're really excited, like Chris said, about this opportunity. And we look for your support once again at extending the Leland Home mission and continuing to serve older adults for many reasons, such as affordability, but also loneliness. And so we too, on behalf of Leland Home, we are excited for this opportunity and look for your support in continuing the Leland legacy. Thank you.
So are you guys done presenting? You keep going.
I'm going to speak for a second.
That's me. I need to now pass it on to Two Life so that, and I'm very happy and pleased to introduce you to both Lisbeth and Rose with Two Life and hear their presentation on the project.
Thank you.
Christine, I think Bruce, did you want to jump in too?
I just want to jump in for a second here and introduce myself because there's a lot of people on this board I do not know. My name is Bruce Burke. I'm the chair of Leland Home. I'm a Waltham resident, a Waltham business owner. I own Brasco Florist. I've lived here my whole life, and I'm all about Waltham. And when I got on the Leland board back 15, 20 years ago, it's all we did. We worked on it day and night trying to keep it operational, but we could see that with the way things were in the healthcare industry, we had to look for a partner, and that's how we ended up getting Deaconess Abundant Life to partner up with us, which was a great association. So I just wanted to introduce myself and thank you for tonight.
Thank you, Bruce and Christine and Chris. And let me introduce myself and Rose while she's queuing up a very short PowerPoint presentation that we have. So I'm Elizabeth Heyer, and I'm Two Life Communities Chief of Real Estate and Innovation. And I've worked in the field of affordable housing for my entire career. And together with Rose, who's also here tonight and is going to be running the slideshow, and is on the real estate team with me. Together, we bring over 50 years of experience in affordable housing development to this really exciting project. So on behalf of Two Life Communities and our Leland Home and Deaconess partners, I want to thank you for your consideration of this CPC funding request. Two Life is deeply honored to be part of this really important effort to restore and expand the Leland Home for the benefit of Waltham's low-income seniors. The Leland Home is well known and highly respected in Waltham, but Two Life, I can imagine, is new to you. So I'll start with a brief introduction to Two Life and show you what Waltham seniors can expect when they move into the newly redeveloped Leland Home. So Rose, if you can advance to the next slide. Two Life Communities is a well-established not-for-profit organization, and for the past 55 years, we've welcomed low-income seniors from all backgrounds to live with us and enabled aging in communities of engagement, connection, purpose, and joy by providing superior quality affordable housing. We continually evolve the supports and services that we provide to meet the needs of our diverse residents as they age. We build connections and community within our walls and in the neighborhoods where we operate, and we promote aging in community as a first choice. Two Life owns and operates the affordable housing that we develop. We also provide extensive services for the 1,600 low-income older adults who live with us in our 5 existing campuses in the greater Boston area that you can see on the slide that's on the screen. Our residents who live with us now range in age from 62 to about 102, and the median annual income of our residents is $10,146 a year. So when Chris talks about affordability, 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 this is what we do day in, day out. It's at the heart of our mission and what we're deeply committed to. And coupled with the Leland Home's 140-year history in Waltham, you and the low-income seniors who live with us and can expect and count on us to deliver the same kind of quality and aging in community experience that we develop for our current residents, and that will really be committed to the Waltham community for the long run. So Rose, if you can advance to the next slide. So for Two Life, and I think this goes for Leland and Deaconess as well, you know, as Chris said, we've been working for a couple of years on this partnership, and we really feel like we were meant to work together because our missions are so aligned and our passions are so aligned. And I think for all 3 of us, who lives with us and how we support them is our top priority. Everything we do is designed to combat the 2 biggest threats that face older adults in Massachusetts. One is economic insecurity and the other is isolation. So just a couple of facts, if you'll bear with me for a minute. In Massachusetts, the median income of retired residents 65 and older is just under $17,000 a year, which falls more than $10,000 short of what the Massachusetts, the UMass kind of economic security study estimates is needed to cover basic necessities such as food and shelter. And in fact, in Massachusetts, and this is pretty shocking, we have the highest rate of nursing home placements in the United States. And this is not because we have higher rates of advanced frailty. It's because older adults in Massachusetts, and absolutely in Waltham as well, cannot afford the high cost of housing and the high cost of care that's needed to be able to age with independence in community. And this conundrum of the lack of affordability of housing and care leaves a Medicaid nursing home as the only viable option to receive subsidized care. And we all know that a nursing home is not where people want to spend their last years. So we at 2 Life and with our partners Leland and Deaconess believe that aging is a team sport. And our proposal for the Leland home means that most of our residents will be able to live their entire lives with us rather than going to a nursing home. Our emphasis on community and our passionate efforts to make sure that no one who lives with us is ever alone means that our residents stay healthier longer. As a matter of fact, research has proven that loneliness exacerbates heart disease, diabetes, and other medical conditions, and rapidly advances frailty and dementia. Our proposed project includes extensive community spaces and support services, and it's a tremendous opportunity to collaborate with the Senior Center, which is right next door, and we've already engaged them in planning efforts to help us plan this project, and we're really excited about that co-location. And this is all in an effort to make sure that no one who lives with us is ever alone. So we're gonna get to some slides about the project in a minute, but if you can bear with me maybe for another 2 minutes, I wanna share a couple of images of what it's like to live at 2 Life, because we think the images and the expressions from our residents are perhaps the best way to explain to you what it's like to live at 2 Life and what you can expect from this Leland home redevelopment. And we'll start, and hopefully you've had a chance to read this amazing quote from some of the residents on this first slide. So Elise, if you can go to the next slide. So at 2 Life, we don't have a receptionist. We have a front desk ambassador who partners with resident volunteers to welcome people when they come into the building. We have a huge range of events every week, everything from art class, English conversation club, we have a tech support club, music performances, we have resale shops, fresh foods at convenience stores in all of our buildings, and everything that we do, all of our programs and services are posted in at least 3 languages, as you can see here on our posting board. Aging in community means that at night, when no formal programs are organized, residents can gather with their friends and family in comfortable common spaces that enable the type of spontaneous activity that you can see here. And whether it's pool or ping pong, the matches that people play can get pretty fierce. Rose, if you can go to the next slide showing you the ping pong. We also have monthly dance parties, which are a great time to have fun, meet neighbors, meet community volunteers. You know, one of the things that 2 Life is committed to is bringing community residents into our buildings to both volunteer, but also to bring other seniors in to benefit from the programs and services that we offer. One of those programs you can see here, we have a robust fitness and wellness program in all of our buildings, and staff are in the gym to encourage and be helpful with adapting exercises to each of our residents' abilities and goals. We also collaborate with premier health and home care partners, such as the Leland Home, to provide on-site services, and each of our communities has live-in staff who respond to emergencies off hours and overnight. And in fact, we resolve 92% of the pull cords, those emergency cords that seniors can pull. We respond to them in-house through our live-in staff instead of calling 911, which means that we're keeping people away from a mandatory transfer to an emergency room, which is what happens if you call 911. And we're also really saving the city on municipal resources by not overutilizing emergency vehicles unnecessarily. So we not only provide beautiful gardens and outdoor fitness spaces, but we come together with our residents on a regular occasion to celebrate and try new activities together whenever we can. And the final slide to kind of inspire you is that we are always welcome, excited to welcome VIPs to our celebrations. This is, of course, a picture of the governor visiting with our self-organized Chinese dance troupe at one of our communities in Brighton. So we don't have a design yet for the Leland Home. We have done some technical studies and we have a good sense of how many units we can fit on the site and ultimately how we would approach organizing the site. But because we don't have a design to show you yet, we thought we'd show you a couple images to inspire you about how beautiful this building can be. So you're looking at the proposed addition for our Golda Meir house in Newton, which is in the Auburndale neighborhood, right down the street from Waltham. This is a 68 unit addition that's about to start construction on the site. And you can see in this image how the design is nestled into the hill. And we did this to be very contextual around the design of this building and to respect the height of the surrounding residential buildings. The next image shows you the ground floor of a recently completed building in Brighton called the Weinberg House. And this gives you a flavor of our ground floors and the dynamic community spaces that we call village centers, which are open to all. We invite community members, as I said, in to take part in all of our programs, and we try to make our ground floor spaces as welcoming as possible so that people want to come in and join what we have to offer. And then the final slide is an image of some beautiful indoor and landscaped outdoor spaces that we just finished at our newest Brown family house, which is in Brooklyn. So hopefully these images get you excited about what's to come at Leland Home. But we do now want to advance our slideshow to talking about our project. And I'll maybe talk for about 3 more minutes because I know you've had a chance to see the proposal, so we can address any questions or comments that you have. So Rose, if you could advance to the proposed project. So we are proposing with our partners a redevelopment of the Leland House that will be 100% affordable for Waltham seniors. We will comply with a 70% local preference for older adults living in Waltham. And we know that this is extremely important for 2 reasons. One, because demographics in Waltham show us that 53% of older adults living in Waltham earn less than $50,000 a year, which is not enough to make it when you need to pay for your housing, your care, your health care, all those other kind of basic needs. But in addition to this, UMass recently did a demographic study, and for Waltham, they projected that between 2010 and 2030, the population of older adults living in Waltham will grow by 43% and is in fact the population that's projected to grow the most in Waltham in the coming years. So to meet this tremendous need for affordability and affordable support services, we are proposing a range of 63 to 79 or 80 apartments. We're still at the beginning of this project. As I mentioned, we have done site studies. We know that the site can comfortably accommodate this range of scale in a combination of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. And within that 63 to roughly 70 or 79 or 80 apartments, we're proposing a mix of 35% of the apartments being affordable to people earning below 50% of your income. And we'll do that by hopefully securing Section 8 and MRVP operating subsidies to combine with the capital subsidies that we'll get for the project so that we can bring the rents even lower for those extremely low income seniors. And then we're also proposing 31% below 60% of the area median income, and then another 30% below 100% of the area median income. I already mentioned this and you saw the images, but we will have extensive program space on the ground floor here. And we've already started really exciting conversations with the abutting Waltham Senior Center to make sure that our programs and our spaces are coordinated and that we're able to add and expand on what the Senior Center is already able to offer to folks living in Waltham. We'll have a high quality building, a very contextual and sensitive design, and we're always committed to beautiful landscaping because we love our residents to enjoy the outdoors. So our landscaping is not only beautiful, but we try to actually build in active elements as well so that people are encouraged to be outdoors. And maybe you can remember that picture a couple slides ago of the outdoor exercise equipment that we have. Our residents actually affectionately call it Muscle Beach. And it's one of our most utilized outdoor spaces. And then we are proposing a 0.5 parking ratio, which is 1 space for every 2 units. The site can comfortably accommodate that amount of parking, and we feel confident, given our experience with our existing campuses, that a 0.5 ratio is adequate to support our staffing, our residents, and the visitors that come to the site. So this is just a snapshot of the sources and uses, which I think you saw in the application. And I will just highlight that this is the scenario where we proposed a $6 million CPA investment in this project. That's to support a larger scale of that up to almost 80 unit project. And with a $6 million investment in a total development cost of about $35.5 million, the CPA funds that we're requesting that you contribute to the project would leverage 83% of the funds that would come from the state and federal government. So an alternative approach is a slightly smaller project with a slightly smaller ask because there are fewer units. So with a $4.5 million CPA request and of similar per unit cost, but a slightly lower total development cost, the project would still have a very strong leverage of 85% of the funds coming from the federal and state government. So our final slide here is just to talk to you a little bit about schedule. So our plan is to work through 2021 on the kind of programming and design for the building, working with folks in Waltham to hopefully receive the approvals that we need on the permitting and zoning side. And then, of course, asking you for your participation through financial support in the project so that we can be ready later this year to enter the state's competition for that significant amount of state and federal funds that the state also allocates to the project. So throughout this year, as we get ready to enter that state funding competition later this year, we will be very committed to a transparent community process through our zoning and permitting and design and planning phase. It's really a hallmark of 2 Life, and we're really excited that our partners at Leland and Deaconess are also committed to a really robust community engagement. We typically, whenever we do a project, we like to thoroughly meet with all of our stakeholders, community members, neighbors, to really introduce the project to folks and to be as responsive as possible before we file for zoning and permitting. Because when we file, we like to file a project that we know everybody's comfortable with and can be proud of. So we're very much committed to that transparent community engagement as we get ready for the permitting phase of the project. And then if all goes well with our state and federal funding application, then we would hope to be in construction in the spring of 2023, which would take about a year, year and a half, and look forward to occupancy in 2024 and really that amazing moment when we can bring Leland Home back to life and restore it with more units and deeply affordable housing with incredible supports for folks who are living in Waltham. So with that, I will thank you so much for your attention and leave it to you if you have any questions or comments.
Excellent. Thank you. That was very comprehensive. What I'd like to do is ask the board for comments and questions. I'll open it up to whoever wants to start. Yep, I saw Bob first.
Thank you, Erica. Excellent presentation. I was wondering if you could just kind of give us an idea how much a month a typical resident would have to pay.
Yeah, that's a great question. So
again, say presume for a 1 bedroom.
Yeah. So there's 3 income tiers that we talked about that under 50%, that 50 to 60%, and then the 60 to 100. So the under 50% of median would be subsidized. You know, we'll receive the capital subsidies in the form of low-income housing tax credits and some other kind of soft debt sources from the state. And those capital subsidies help write down the rent. And then on top of that, we hope to secure Section 8 and mass rental voucher subsidies for those 35% of units that would be below 50% of median. So those residents would only pay 30% of their income for rent. It's completely income-based, and your income can go as low as, you know, the $10,000 a year that is the income of most of the folks who live with 2 Life now, because they're only paying 30% of their income, and that Section 8 or MRVP pays us the difference between what the resident can pay and what it costs to operate. So the other 2 income tiers, that kind of 50 to 60% and then the 60 to 100, we're able to write those rents down from the capital subsidies that we get. So that's the low-income housing tax credit subsidy, the CPA, the other state soft debt. And the 50 to 60% rents for a 1 bedroom are about $1,100 a month, $1,100 or $1,200 a month. And the 60 to 100% of median, I think we have them in at 2,000 a month. Is that right, Rose?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so those are set at being affordable to someone earning between like 85 and 100% of median, paying 30% of their income for rent.
Okay, I have a follow-up question too. So just for people watching. So we're talking about a complete demolition of the existing building and a new structure going up.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Melanchik.
Thank you. You mentioned, and definitely the app has the issue of, you're looking at 63 or 79 units. Is there some crucial thing that you'll be able to know at when you would want to go one or the other, or how? Obviously you haven't made up the decision, and I presume maybe some of it's has to do with permitting or something, but is there something else?
Yeah, Chris, do you want to jump in here or do you want me to take it?
Yeah, sure. I think there's a few different parts of this. Permitting, no question, is part of it, because it's just uncertain. I'd say as a general rule of thumb in senior housing and senior care, getting to that 80 typically is just provides more economies of scale. It's typically more feasible to build a little bit of a bigger project. And there is that need, so I think we're trying to kind of strike the balance between understanding that we don't have all permits in hand and, thought the best way to approach that was to create a range.
Okay, thank you. And so in the app, it does have the check mark yes for site control. Can you explain I guess there's the partnership between the existing Leland home, which I'm going to guess you still own the facility there.
Yet the Leland home continues to be, an entity. And so,
Right.
The Leland home,
which owns it, but does own the property still.
The Leland home bylaws and the Deaconess bylaws together sort of, perform that function. And so I think to shore that up one more layer, if you will, the Leland home is voted to push forward with 2 Light. The Deaconess board has voted to push forward with 2 Life. There's a letter of intent additionally signed between Deaconess and 2 Life. So, we've touched that, that basis a few different ways. Obviously with 3 not-for-profits coming together, it's a little atypical, but those 3 boards, have all taken action towards this partnership.
Okay, so I'm just concerned about actual. Is a letter of intent is going to be satisfactory enough and for our needs here? Whether it has to be something stronger, I don't know, but at this point, but I'm just bringing it up for discussion. Let's see. How? So are these when you say unit, we're talking about an apartment where there's a bathroom and a kitchen and a living room?
Yes, exactly. It's a full kitchen, full bathroom. As a matter of fact, 2 Life has extensive design guidelines that we post on our website, which you're welcome to go look at. And all of our projects are designed to support aging in community with 100% adaptability from day one, so that nobody has to move out of the building or to another apartment because their needs change or their frailty advances. So we have fully accessible and adaptable kitchens and bathrooms in all of our apartments.
Oh, that's great. I noticed in the app, in the section that talks about the number of units, that when you go up to the larger number of units, the number of units in less than 50% AMI drop, and that's the same for less than 80% AMI drop. And I sort of would thought that you'd at least keep them the same, if not increase those for that one. So I'm a little confused about why that's happening.
Is it the number or the percentage? And maybe Rose can jump in here because
It seems to be, it's number of units. The table is number of units. It's, the columns are percentage AMI, 50% AMI column. It goes from 16 to 13 when you got the 68 units. And for the less than 80% AMI, it goes from 25 to 22
Okay.
for one bedroom.
Mhm.
Oh, so there is a slightly different unit mix, that we have more 2-bedroom units in the larger project, the 79 units. There should be in both scenarios, the project kind of maxes out the tax credit, sort of the tax credit program. You max out at about 53 apartments. And so that should be consistent.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So the next row below, the 2-bedroom, the drop in 1-bedrooms goes down by 3, but then up by 3 in 2-bedrooms for 50% or less. And the 3, this distinction changes there. And I see, and what you're educating me about is that the tax benefits, 53 units is what you're saying is the most you can get for less than the 100% AMI, I guess.
For less than 60% AMI. So below 60% AMI, that it should be about 53 units, and it should be this a similar split between the below 50, the units with the operating subsidy below 50%, and then the units below 60% or below 80%, I think is how the application asked for it.
Right. And below 30% doesn't change. But so the biggest increase, though, is indeed the 80 to 100% AMI range. 1-bedrooms drop 16 units there. So I'm just,
That's
I
right.
was trying to understand
Yeah.
how that worked or what was the reasoning behind that.
And you absolutely nailed it in that the sort of power or value of the tax credit subsidies and those soft debt subsidies from the state max out at about 53 units. So as we get bigger, that's why we have that mass housing subsidy in there. That's some additional subsidy for that 60 to 80. And that's where some of the additional CPA funding would help as well, as the project got larger.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all I have for the moment. Yes, thank you.
All right, who's next? Anybody else from the committee?
Just a quick, I do have one quick question.
Yeah.
Are there any asset limitations for residents?
There are, but they're fairly low. So the way that the tax credit calculation works, it takes a combination of somebody's recurring income and then adds to that a 0.02% draw or calculation on what a draw would be off their assets to figure out their eligibility. So it's a pretty,
Wow, that's very low.
it's very low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, that was 0.2 or is it 0.02?
0.02.
Okay.
Mr. LeBlanc.
I was just wondering how do you handle laundry at the facility typically?
We have laundry rooms, and we typically opt for distributing smaller laundry rooms on every floor of the building for convenience.
Can you, another question, can you expand on what other services you have available? I know that, you spoke pretty specifically about, addressing loneliness, which we all know is a major concern, but like what other aids, what other assistance do you offer at a project like this?
Yeah, what a great question. So at the heart of our aging and community model are our resident service coordinators. which we have in every single one of our buildings. And we employ them. They're typically trained social workers, and they're employed in our buildings at a ratio of about 1 resident service coordinator for every 70 or 80 residents, so that they have a caseload with a range of folks with a range of needs. And it's their job to know every resident, to know their families, and to really be their kind of care coordinators and care navigators to both make sure that they access all the benefits and services that are available to them, and also to make sure that they're taking advantage of everything that we have to offer in our building, you know, all the programs and services that we mentioned to you as well. So those resident service coordinators are kind of, we sort of think about them as the kind of professional son or daughter that's really the partner for our residents to help them navigate life and make sure that they're taking advantage of the benefits that they may be getting through the local ASAP, for instance, to make sure if they're eligible for food stamps that they're accessing that benefit and taking advantage of it, to make sure that they're able to understand the complexities of the mass health system or the Medicare Advantage system, and understanding how to have the right kind of insurance that makes them eligible for the maximum amount of care that they're eligible to receive. And then the other thing that we do is we have robust partnerships with healthcare providers and home care providers to bring services on site in our buildings. So it's something that we're working on with the Leland Home and the Senior Center right now, because you know, this is a service that Leland Home already provides, and we're working with them on the role they'll have in the building to continue providing care for residents who need home and personal care services in their apartments. And we'll help to coordinate that for folks.
I do have one other question. Well, a couple other points, but do you envision applying for permitting through a 40B process?
I think that's the most likely route, yes. But we're also considering a special permit.
Would it be a friendly 40B?
I think if it depending, yes, we would definitely want it to hope that it would be a friendly 40B. And I guess it sort of depends on where the city is in terms of the 10%. One other point though, just to add on to Lisbeth's, what she talked about with the services that that we didn't clarify in the application, is that there are all our rents, all utilities are included in our rents. And we do this at all of our properties because we never want seniors having to make a choice between paying their utilities and buying food or medication. So that's so that costs all utilities are included in the rents.
And the access to our 24/7 staff in the building is also included in the underwriting for the project, so that we're sure that we'll have 2 people in the building at all times, off hours and overnights, to respond to maintenance emergencies, but most importantly, to respond to those pull cords. Because we typically find, you know, what people need overnight is a little bit of help redirecting or addressing, you know, a fear of going to the bathroom because it's dark. So it's typically not a health emergency. It's a small moment of care that's needed that with a live-in attendant can make a humongous difference in someone's life, when otherwise an ambulance would show up in the middle of the night. And that's not really—
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I actually I wanted to ask Bruce. Bruce, what's your opinion of the project?
Well, we looked at a lot of other options before we fell on this one. And the whole thing seemed like it was what Waltham needed. That's, you know, they needed to have a really affordable, and you know, it's fine when everybody does these affordable apartments in the city, but how affordable really is the rent? So this is a much different program, and you know, it worked. I thought from the day one when we talked to them, this was the best solution.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
I do have a couple of questions, but I want to make sure everyone on the committee, other members of the committee, have a chance to speak before I jump in. Yep, Amanda, Ms. Thibodeau.
I know the Leland building itself is pretty old. Is there any restrictions historical, and Sean may be able to answer this as well, but is there been any pushback on the historical aspects perhaps of the building?
It hasn't come in front of us from that aspect. I'd have to take a closer look at it to see what the restrictions are. Certainly, depending on how the funding is given, then there might be some additional restrictions, but none that I know of off the top of my head. But again, I'd have to take a look at it. I know they've made some additions over the years, and some that they've updated their buildings over time, I believe. So sometimes that can void that. So I'd have to take a closer look, but I mean, none that I know of off the top of my head.
Mort has his hand raised.
Okay.
Yeah, if Mort's here, he could probably weigh in on that.
Please.
Yes, he has his hand raised.
Yeah. The building is marked as historic on the city's database. There's no question it is an historic building. And so that means it will have to come before the Historical Commission for a delayed demolition hearing. I can't say what the commission will do. Of course, it has to weigh what's best for Waltham in many different ways. But certainly it is historic and will have to be considered that way. I wonder if there's any possibility of incorporating even some of the facade, say, of the current building in your plans for the new building. That may be something you want to consider, because there is certainly the possibility that there will be a year's delay put on the demolition.
Great.
Is it 1 year, Mort?
It's a maximum of 1 year. Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, that was my question. Is there a demo delay in Waltham? And now I know. Mr. Melanchek.
This sort of just, I think, is essentially in the same ballpark. That my recollection is there was CPA application to repair some aspect of the building back a bunch of years ago because it was only done because it was a historic repair. Does that sound familiar to anybody else other than me?
Yeah, it was the roof.
It was the roof. Yeah, thank you, Bob.
Yeah, there was something done.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, definitely. And that's the only way we were able to do it because it was historic. But okay, that's all. Sorry, just a comment.
Anybody else from the committee? All right. My overarching question is, what to life, what interests you about Waltham? What is exciting to you? I want to hear why you want to come here. And I mean, I have a few more questions, but that's sort of my first one, just to open it up.
Well, I mean, there's multiple reasons. It's an amazing community. This is an amazing, it's partly the Leland Home history, the Leland Home reputation, the opportunity to partner with such incredible partners in a fabulous location that's adjacent to a senior center. It just doesn't get better than that. Our CEO, Amy Scheckman, has a rule. If you can't walk out the door and buy an ice cream cone, it's not a place for seniors. And look at that location and the vibrancy of Main Street and the amazing amenities and community that this is already embedded in and will have a continued life in. So, for us and our passion for aging in community, and our mission is that every older adult should have the opportunity to live a full life of connection and purpose in a dynamic and supportive environment. And the community of Waltham and this particular location and these partners, it just sings aging in community, and there's no place we'd rather be.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear. Would the units in this new space be considered on the state housing subsidized housing index? Are they eligible for that?
Yes.
I wasn't sure. I wanted to make sure, given that they were age restricted, that there was still that possibility.
Yes.
Okay, because that would be important, I think. And you talked about needing permits, and you don't have a design yet, so I know you can't answer this with authority yet. But I do want to make sure it's a smallish lot for the size building that you're talking about building. I'm not an architect, but I play one on TV, unlike Justin, who plays a lawyer on TV. And I just I want to make sure that what gets designed is contextually appropriate. It is downtown. It is right on Main Street. But if you're tearing down a historic building, there has to be some sensitivity to the neighbors. And I just want to, can you talk to that in any depth? Because there is no plan yet for us to react to, and we would be voting on something without a plan in front of us.
Yeah, no, it's such a great question. I really appreciate it. And we have done some studies of the site. I mean, we do have a conceptual approach to how to really sensitively and appropriately fit the kind of scale on the site that we're talking about, but it wouldn't do it justice because it's boxes at this point. It's not really a design. But we will be working with neighbors and with the community on the design. And, before we file, we will do an extensive and thorough community process and bring the design out, get feedback, work with folks. But we always look at setbacks, traffic flow, preservation of as much landscape as possible that's on the site. There's some beautiful trees that are there. We'd love to, and are already talking to our architect about doing everything we can to protect some of those older trees. We think about height. We think about massing to be respectful of the cues that we're getting. I mean, this is it's kind of a intersection between a main street and a residential neighborhood. And so being that kind of bridge and being really sensitive to speaking to both characters of kind of a vibrant main street and a more intimate residential neighborhood is really important. And we work with premier architects. This is what they do every day, all day. And we only pick architects that can tolerate Two Life's little bit crazy commitment to transparent and engaged community process, because we really honestly don't like to file for our permits till we know we've satisfied everybody's questions. And you can't please everybody all the time, but we do the best we can to please everybody as much as possible, because these are our neighbors. We're going to be here for a long time, and we really want a beautiful building that we can all be proud of and that we all feel like belongs where it's sited. So I appreciate what you're saying, and can just say we're really sensitive to it. And we'll do our best to design a beautiful contextual building.
Mr. If I can just make one quick, oh, go ahead, Dan.
Oh, no, go ahead, Sean.
Sean, and then
if I can thank you. If I can just make a comment, I think it's been a very good and thorough presentation, and certainly understand how valuable what you guys do is. I mean, it's life altering for sure. But certainly the Leland home, just to echo Mort's comments, is a very valuable, very historic building. And I said a very, key and sensitive area in the city. And so, I know I could speak on behalf of the rest of the commissioners to say that the Historical Commission would really like to have as much of an opportunity as possible to be involved in the process, to lend you our input and be a resource that we hope you guys utilize as much as possible, because we have some very great people on our commission that have some really great ideas, have a great understanding of the history of Waltham. And again, it is an important structure, and I know we can add a lot of value. And so I would encourage you to use us as a resource as much as possible, and not just in the capacity of coming in front of us to get a sign off, but to work alongside with us and utilize the folks that we have on the commission.
We absolutely will. Thank you for that.
All right. More comments. There's folks. Oh yeah, sorry, Dan, you were next.
No problem. I just want to go hit back on one thing you were saying in response to Bob's question about 40B or friendly or special permit, all stuff. Did I hear correctly in that if Waltham is not meeting the 10%, that you might try an unfriendly 40B, or, you know, that kind of, I hate the term friendly, unfriendly, but you know what I'm trying to say.
A 40B or a 40B or a friendly 40B.
Yeah, right. 40B or friendly. Thank you. That's right. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, what I can tell you is that we've been working with Bruce and Marcia and folks at Leland Home and we're in the process of picking a local zoning attorney who can advise us on who has the experience in Waltham and really understands the process and can work with us on the best path and the most respectful way to get the permitting that we need. So I think it would be unfair to characterize what our intent is because we haven't made that decision yet.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
I did notice that the purchase price is part of your pro forma, which makes sense. Does that money go back to New England Deaconess or Leland Home, or does it get plowed back into the project? Is that something you can answer now?
You know, I'll say that you know, to some extent, there are some loaned funds between the two organizations. But certainly beyond that, there's a lot of discussions that I think would need to be had. You know, I think there's an appraisal price in there, and, you know, that's really what we understand to be the right way to start.
Okay. And anybody, so is there a sense from the commission that we want to take a vote tonight, or do we want to, get our heads around this, or yes, Mr. Melnichuk.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up that as per the email I sent around before, the standard process is a 2-meeting thing. And unless, there's something particular, if there's an extreme need to move and someone thinks that this is, a proposal that makes sense to not hang around, but we still haven't done the public hearing as section. I see that there are 3 people in the attendees that could actually respond to our request for whether they're in favor or not. We can do a poll and then see if anyone wants to speak on or before it or not.
I would certainly echo Dan's comments as far as the 2-meeting. It's for no other reason other than this is a huge undertaking and a huge project, and I think it's worth talking about, discussing, and having a discussion on at the next meeting. But that's just my thoughts.
No, I agree, and I would feel comfortable definitely not deciding tonight if there's no urgent need for a decision immediately. Ms. McClary, you have your hand up.
Yes, may I speak?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. First of all, yes, I am a member of the board of the Leland Home. I have been for many, many years. But more importantly, my mom was at the Leland Home, where she passed away a few years ago. And one of the things I always said to friends who said, "How's mom doing?" Was that I brought her there because she needed that kind of care. And every time I went to see her, there was always a smile on her face. Very hard to relinquish the care of your mom to a stranger, but seeing that smile made it all worthwhile. I also have a letter that was written by someone else whose mom had been, or whose aunt, had been at the Leland. I'm going to pick a few things, if I may, just to read to you, because she wrote 3 pages. She could not come tonight because she has children and she was in charge of transportation. So let me just be as brief as I can. My name is Pilar Dowdy, and I live in Lincoln, Mass. With my husband, 2 children, and our Aunt Rosalie Hams, who is 94 years old. Rosalie was very happy living at the Leland Home in Newton, and previous to the Leland Home, on Newton Street. Previously to the Leland Home, she lived in affordable housing on Cedar Street in Waltham and had been a resident of Waltham for approximately 30 years. When, in 2014, Rosalie began to experience occasional challenges with balance, memory, and food preparation, we needed to find an affordable community living situation that felt comfortable to her, and the Leland Home was it. All it took was one visit to the Leland Home for Aunt Rosalie to say, This feels like a place for me. It feels at home. She loved being there. She loved being next to the Waltham Senior Center. She loved doing all of the activities, exercise class, crafts, games, movies, and community events. And she continues to talk about how lucky she was to live at the Leland home. When COVID hit, she needed to leave. She couldn't continue to stay there because she would be in isolation in an effort to stop the spread of the virus. And so she came to live with her niece and the family of 4. Therefore, it was a blessing when multiple employees from the Leland home, now focusing on deploying home health care assistance through the Deaconess of Abundant Life home care program, called regularly to check on Auntie Rosalie, provide advice, and offer assistance. She has had care, it's on some weeks every single day. Somebody comes to play games with her and shares laughter, conversation, and friendship. She has become part of the family and has taken so much of the stress out of our living situation. Though we love having Rosalie living with us, she and we feel that she will ultimately be happiest surrounded by friends in a communal setting when COVID subsides enough to make the requirement for isolation a thing of the past. When that time comes, we hope to turn to the Leland home again. I strongly encourage the City of Waltham to support the rebuilding and reopening of the Leland home as an affordable communal assisted living in Waltham. The Leland home, a special resource of the Deaconess of Abundant Life Network, is a gem in the heart of Waltham. Its proximity to the senior center in downtown is critical to allowing its elderly residents to continue thriving in Waltham's vibrant community. And most important, it is affordable. I hope that Aunt Rosalie and many others will be able to benefit from and enjoy Leland as a home and community in the future. Thank you for listening. Nice
Excellent.
letter, huh?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, Mr. Melanchuk.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just ask a lot of questions sometimes.
That's why we're here.
That's good. Thank you. Yes. So I'm just like scanning through the application some more. I tried to read the whole thing, and I did, but and so I'm trying to look at it again. The community support at this point, I mean, obviously there's some community support from board members of Leland Home, but as far as your application talks of meaningful community engagement, deep meaningful community engagement, including extensive transparency and work with all stakeholders. At this point, other than maybe I missed it earlier, I apologize, but so far, have you had community engagement with other than the Leland Home Board, or has there been other organizations you've been working with, or have you already had any sort of public meetings at all?
So Chris and Christine, do you want to?
Did you want me to? We've had meetings with Mayor McCarthy. And every year we meet with Mayor McCarthy just to give her, the goings on for Leland Home and what our strategic planning looks like. And we did have a presentation with To Life, and Mayor McCarthy joined on that, as well as Councilor Joey LaCava. He recently also met with us and learned more about the project with To Life in the collaboration. Then we continue our relations, and it's on a smaller scale, not in a political scale, but with local universities as well, and continue our relationships with them and look to continue those relationships even in the future when with the new Leland Home. So we've continued all of those relationships that we have built over the years with different nonprofits in the community.
And we've also had a couple conversations with the senior center as well next door, who's very supportive of the project and was sorry that they couldn't come tonight to speak in favor.
That's right. Oh, you did mention the senior center. Yes, thank you.
I believe folks who want to comment on this yay or nay can email Julie Toole in the CPC office if they have written comments they want to submit. I believe that that would be something we would accept in lieu of participation in a meeting. Is that correct? Is that okay with the board?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right. So do it whenever you're ready, in case there's other comments, but we could do the public hearing section.
Yes, if there's anybody else who would like to speak, do you want me, is there a way to do that with the webinar, Dan?
Yeah, well, essentially the model that why we're using webinars for all the attendees, of which two of them are already talking here, which is Morty and Sean. But there is a couple of people still out there, two attendees in the attendee section of the webinar, who were, that's why we put out the note that if you want to possibly talk or ask a question. So we could throw to the attendees at this point, open the public hearing, and if they want to say something.
Yes, I would like to open the public hearing as long as there's no more comments from the board. Raise your hand if you, yep, Mr. LeBlanc.
I have one, I don't want to go overstate it, but kind of an editorial comment. I love the letter from Mrs. McClary. And I thought it was great. And I just, my own personal experience with the Leland home, I've had relatives that work there. I had neighbors that lived there, and I would go visit, neighbor A, and I would end up talking to 4 or 5 other people. It was just a really nice community. And people were glad to see you, come back. You just always had every time I went there, I had a very warm feeling and a good feeling that, hey, this is an institution in the city of Waltham that's affordable. The people who live in Waltham, who for whatever reason have to go to a home, this was a home. It was not just a place to go. It was a home. There was a real sense of community in the place. People who visited, like I say, I would go to see Buddy A, and then I would talk to 4 or 5 other people. And I just hope we can, this new development could continue in that vein.
Yes.
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
That was good. Thank you.
So I would like to open the public hearing if folks from the attendees would like to speak.
And as far as the technical thing, either if you raise your hand and you know how to do that on your device, then we know that you want to say something, or if you want to, since it's only a couple people at this point, if you want to put something into the chat to say, ask a question or a comment. And at this point, I don't see a hand raised, nor do I see a chat message from in the Zoom app. So far, we could give it a minute or so. The other thing that we can do, that we should do, which is one of the features again of using the webinar, and hopefully next time there'll be more attendees. But we usually in-person meetings pre-COVID. We would take a poll of the audience or the attendees. Do you support this application or not? Just to get a rough input. And so there is actually a polling feature here, which I can put up do you support this? Yes or no? And I think I'll do that now, even though I think we're down now to.
I think we're down to one public.
One attendee. Well, hey, you got to test these new features out. So let's see. The question is, do I have to edit the poll? Yeah. Okay. I'll take a second. Do you support this application? And answer 1 is yes, and the answer 2 is no. And here we go. All right, it's not anonymous, and save. I'm hitting the poll, and now there is an active poll going out there that I have to just say, allow panelists don't get to vote. Okay, I'm launching the poll, and here we go. So we'll see if somebody wants to respond. The singular attendee wants to answer yes or no at this point. We'll give them another 30 seconds. if you're on a mobile device, you
Our
often have.
CFO, Dan.
What's that?
I think it might be our CFO, who is a lifelong, who was born and raised in Waltham. And so whatever it is, whatever you call them once they move out, I think that's say hi to Jim for us.
Hi, Jim. Okay, I guess you're not going to respond to the poll. 0 out of 3 have voted. Okay, I guess I'll end the poll with that. There's no response this time.
But now we know how to do it.
Yes, we do know how to do it. It takes a minute or so, but it's worth it. It's actually faster than in person, where we had to ask everyone for yes and then count their hands and ask for a no and count their hands. Okay, I'm ending the poll.
All right.
Very good.
All right. Have I forgotten anything? Anybody else want to make some last comments? What I would do is, Yep.
Just one more comment, just as I sit here and think a little bit more, and when you were asking about the community, we also have met with Waltham Housing Division and Bob Waters as well, and introduced the project to him as well.
Okay, excellent.
But nobody around the properties, nearby properties yet, that kind of thing, that aspect. I mean, people who live next door.
Neighbors, correct.
Not that, okay. All right.
So, yes, Mr. LeBlanc.
I think a lot of people probably haven't heard of the project now. Hopefully they'll see this on TV and they'll become aware of it. And I think, if we could move to next month and just kind of get the word out there a little bit about the project, maybe generate a little, enthusiasm for the project, I think it'd be good. And that would be my opinion to as far as going forward.
Okay, so I would then entertain a motion to, hold on one second, Mr. Melanchek. I will entertain a motion at some point to continue this hearing. But if you have another comment, Mr. Melanchek, I will entertain that.
Yeah, one of the reasons why to have 2 meetings is to, as Sean, I think, put it, is to contemplate and think about it, and more questions will come up. And in that vein, I would hope To Life and Leland would be open if we had any more questions in the interim in the next few weeks, that if we funnel them through Julie to get to you guys for input for pre-meeting, hopefully that would be an okay thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Continue to the next
Mr.
hearing.
Doyle.
Yeah.
I move to continue the next hearing.
Mr. Doyle makes the motion to move us
Is
to
there
the
a
next
second?
hearing. Who made the second?
Second by Mr. LeBlanc. All those in
Mr. LeBlanc. All right. I hear any objections, any discussion? I don't see anybody. Sean, we can't see you. Do you have any comments or concerns about this?
No, I'm good with the motion.
All right. Mr. Melanchek, do you need a roll call vote, or are we just waving?
I think we can all say yes, call out for yay or nay.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I believe the ayes have it. Any nays?
Yep.
I hear none. Hearing none.
And we do have to record that there is essentially a abstain by Justin for the record.
Correct.
Make sure that gets, yeah.
The chair, Justin Barrett, abstains, has recused himself from this conversation
Right.
as a board member of the Leland House. All right. I think we're good with the Two Life and everybody else. Do we have more business? We can release you all, and Justin can come back into our room and take his meeting back. But thank you all for coming and for the extensive application and the presentation. It was very helpful. And I'm sure we'll all have some more comments and questions next month. So the hearing is continued to March 9th.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.
You all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I turn the meeting back over to Chair Justin Barrett.
I think. Oh, no, you don't.
We lost you.
You
I
there?
don't.
Well, we
Yeah,
hear you, but you're not moving. Oh, there you are.
All right, okay.
Your
Excellent.
meeting, Chair.
All right. Okay, going into old business. Approval of the extension of open applications. Now, not all of these, I don't know, Julie, did you send everybody the list? Because some of these don't need action, but the ones that do, what happens is, just to let you know, if we vote on an application in, let's say, September, that application is good through the following December 31st. Okay, or if it's even January, if we vote on something this month, it's good until December 31st, 2022, just to let everybody know. But is everybody, do you want me to read these and we'll vote them all at once?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. The Wayside Trail, the work is wrapping up. Elsie Turner Field and the Gravison, the same thing. It's supposed to be done, but they're waiting for one field to be just something done on that. The Hardy Pond Conservation Area, that is ongoing and will be for years, just to let everybody know. The Fernal demolition of Shriver, Cirque, Kelly, and the Green Buildings. The Green Building's gone. I don't know whether the Shriver's gone, but anyway, that's on hold, and they've got $974,714 left to spend, but I'm not sure it's COVID or whatever. The Wellington Farm Fields, that is, they've done the initial raising of the trees, but they want to dig up the stumps, so that's ongoing, and it's delayed because of COVID, supposedly. Both Waltham housing projects haven't started yet. Wellington Interior, they have done some work, but they're waiting for an architect to finish that. The Fernal Historical, that's Hand Crank Productions. They're still filming up there. As a matter of fact, they caught on the film, they caught the arsonist, they think. That's ongoing. The Stonehurst replacement, that work is done in Julie, were the funds restored to us, do you know?
No, you have to vote tonight.
Okay, which we did away with the voting, but we'll do that, and the chimney is going to be closed then. We don't have to vote anymore.
Not on the chimney, but on Stonehurst you have to for auditing, since there's a balance.
But
Ginny
no.
wants you to vote on it.
We didn't, let me ask you a question. Didn't we already square this away with, we could close the account with, I could say it's done.
Oh, maybe yeah, I think you're right.
Right,
I forgot about that. Okay.
Okay. The Stonewall survey, the high school is involved in that, so that's on delay, so we're gonna have to vote that. City Hall design, the mayor still hasn't decided on that. Sons of Italy is on hold because of COVID. The Stonehurst, that should be closing too, right? We'll vote.
Only
we'll vote
one.
to extend it.
Ann said only close one.
Okay. The Lowell Mill chimney, that's closed. UMass, they still haven't passed papers on that, but it's coming. The Historic Conservation, that is 90% done as far as the RFP. Metfern, I spoke to George Darcy on Metfern, and that's on hold because of COVID. The Lyman Vale, we don't know because we haven't been able to get a hold of anybody.
I got in touch with them this week, and the project will be wrapped up by March.
Okay. So in the housing emergency, I spoke to Bobby Waters on that. The city got $1 million back from the federal government. He had said to close it, and auditing said to hold it open. So, well, we don't have to vote on that because that was only a year ago. That's good until December 31st. The Stonehurst exterior renovations is good until December 31st of 22, and the last two are not even in progress yet. So with that, I would look for a motion to extend the ones I just said to extend.
Okay, I will have to,
all right.
I'm afraid I didn't.
Have you got the list? Have you got the list in?
I have the list in front of me, and I have it a PDF, and I have my Adobe Acrobat. I can make comments, but we can do this. I don't know. I did not follow closely enough
Right.
and mark which
Let me tell you which we won't vote on. Okay.
Okay.
the Stonehurst Payne, the Stonehurst Payne Estate roof replacement.
Okay, hold on a second.
Justin, can I ask a question on that?
Yep.
I was hoping to have a chance. I saw that on our agenda just last night. Anne was not able to be a part of the Historical Commission meeting. I have an email out to her just to check with her on that. Is that being closed because, to your knowledge, the work was absolutely completed, or is that a timing issue?
No, that's supposedly the work is complete.
Okay.
It's a balance of $10,662, Sean.
That's correct.
And it was,
Ann
but it
said
was
it's
only,
done.
Julie, you
said
did talk
yes,
to
that it
Dan
was
on that
done.
specifically?
Sorry, I spoke
Okay,
with
I
Ann
mean-
and she said to close it. The work is done.
Okay, good enough for me then. Thank you.
Okay, and then the Lone Mill chimney is done. We don't have to vote on that. And then
One second, let's make a note. Hold on a second. Okay. All right.
we don't have to vote on, we do not have to vote on UMass Field Station because that's new. So, and that'll be done. And everything else with the Medfern is on hold. So we don't have to vote on emergency housing assistance.
Okay, emergency not. Okay.
The Stonehurst exterior renovations, we don't have to vote on.
Okay.
Thompson and McDonald playgrounds, we don't have to vote on.
Okay.
In the Metro West Armory, we don't have to vote on.
Okay, very good. All right. What I will do is adjust this list because I'll be, and we'll send it to Julie and Justin just to make sure I have it correct before, but nonetheless, everybody, you all heard the news there. Thank you.
So I would make a motion to extend the projects as discussed just
Okay.
now.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on it? Seeing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay.
Okay, we could, Julie, do you feel comfortable not taking a vote on the Stonehurst and the,
That's fine. That's
okay, all
fine.
right,
I
fine.
forgot
So
all about
let's do
that.
All right, last but not least, we've kept you long enough, is the pay raise for our favorite CPC manager. Do you want to speak about that, Julie? Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Okay, everybody knows that the city voted for the non-union workers pay raise retroactive to July 1st of 19. And we've got a vote on it, so I would look for a motion to approve. Bill Doyle makes a motion. Do I hear a second by Erica?
Second, yes,
Any
Julie is our
discussion?
favorite.
You've done a great job, Julie. You really have. I can't tell you, it's made life so much easier on everybody. So with that, I will take a vote. All those in favor?
Yes. Can I vote yes twice?
Aye.
See, Dan appreciates it too.
Can we vote a higher raise? No.
And any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you all for taking the time. It was a long meeting and I apologize. I didn't expect the church to go as long as it did. With that, I guess I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Except I do have announcements.
Okay.
So I wrote this so that I wouldn't stutter or stumble. So please excuse me for my reading, but CPC members, Waltham elected officials, and citizens of Waltham for whom we serve. As clerk of this committee, I attempt to keep a handle on the rules and regulations of the CPA laws of Massachusetts, on the rules that this committee has chosen to operate under within the confines of the CPA laws, and on what can and can't be done in projects that this committee gets to see in the form of applications to use Waltham CPA funds. Yet I am not an expert. A recent application that this committee approved for funding has been, quote, sent back to CPC by the City Council. This committee has also received an email from the mayor prescribing what this application needs so that, quote, there is no delay in this project and not lose their place in funding, unquote. There are also claims, among others, that this committee has not followed its own rules. As a CPC member and the clerk, I am concerned for this committee in moving forward with projects in the light of the application sent back to CPC by the City Council. To address these concerns, which I can only hope each and every other member of this committee has, I'll be reaching out to experts in Massachusetts CPA laws and their use to meet with, in hopes to meet with us at our next scheduled meeting. The goal is to help clarify what is allowable by CPA laws in regards to our rules and applications, using the application sent back to us as a framework for such an examination. And for this section of our meeting, we should invite all Waltham elected officials to attend. So basically, I'm proposing that we have a little educational session for ourselves at our next meeting, or if it wants to be a special meeting, that's fine too. But I think we need to reflect upon the situation that happened with this last application that is known as the Armory application. And
I'm gonna step in and say, I don't disagree with you, but I disagree wholeheartedly. Okay, I did check with Stuart, and it has been done with the way it's been suggested. However, the signature of it all is the mayor, and no matter what we do or the council does, if she finds it according to mass law, and she's the lawyer and she's got a law department, Stuart's not a lawyer and he hasn't got a law department, I don't feel comfortable when ultimately the mayor is going to nix it anyway of taking that kind of time. And that's, believe me, that's the one thing I don't like to do is waste time. And I don't think it would be a bad idea, Dan. It's just a time. It's all it's going to do is piss people off. That's my. And there's 9 members on the committee, so have at it, folks. I'm open for discussion, Dan. I'm just telling you how I see it.
Are we opening ourselves to greater scrutiny if we call in people to tell us what the rules are, as though we didn't know in the first place?
Well, there's been claims that what we did were we didn't follow our rules, or that in particular, may I speak? Let me speak.
Go ahead.
In particular, you do not have to have site control. That is not a CPA law. There was claimed at one point that that was CPA law, and that is not. That our applications have that, it was just, that was what was handed down from before I got on and then became the clerk somehow. And, I put it into the PDF because it was in a text file and I made it a nice file. So there's that. And the issue of as is appraisals, which is what has been used on every other application that we've seen coming through, versus what the mayor is asking for. So it's all, so it just seems, and Justin, I hear what you're saying is that the final arbitrator has a particular point of view as a lawyer, but if it is doable, and if we find out that it is doable and we have a lawyer who works in CPA in the state doing this kind of stuff, inform us that it can be done another way. I think that'd be very helpful to this committee to hear that and educate us. And so I always feel like education is not a waste of time, but that's me.
if you had a lawyer or some, what I'm saying, you're saying city officials, if you're talking about asking the mayor to come to one of our meetings to educate her, it's not going to, it's
I'm
not.
not, yeah, I'm
Okay.
not saying that they have to come. I would say that we could invite all the elected officials, and maybe some city councilors might want to come or not. But the priority thing is for us to know what is legal and what has passed legal muster in the rest of the state. I think there's value in that for this committee. If people don't want to do it, if you want to take a vote, I'm going to do the research anyway. I can report it to you. If you guys don't want to actually meet with anybody, I will meet with people and get back to you.
As I said, I'll open it up to I'm not opposed to it, Dan. It's just a case of where I'm very reluctant to get into the politics of it. Okay. And there are politics. So,
well, okay. Well, as the lawyer, I hear what you're saying about there can be a layer of politics applied, but I believe, as the lawyer said, it's what is the question being answered or asked, and is all the information there? And I sort of, I play a lawyer on TV. Actually, I was thinking go to law school at one point. I didn't go. So, and as a process engineer, I'm very, I'm a clerk. I like to see processes run and everybody have an understanding of what can be done, what can't be done. So, I mean, yeah.
Bob.
If Dan is willing to, obviously Dan seems to have a passion for this, and if he's willing to do some research and just educate us as a board as to, where we may or may not have flawed in previous cases, I don't see any problem with that. I mean, what can it take? An hour presentation?
Well, I don't have a problem with it either, Dan. So
all right. Well, okay. So I'll take it from here unless there's anything else.
Anybody else comment?
I would just, I'm wondering if maybe if the rules and regulations of this group that we set for ourselves and our own, how we craft our own parameters, if they haven't been looked at in a while, does it make sense for there to be a subcommittee of 2 or 3 members to kind of take this on? So it's not all on Dan, but just to kind of take it on, to look through it. I realize I'm volunteering and I probably shouldn't, but but I don't think it's a bad thing for a board, especially with new members who were not part of the creation of the original rules and regulations, to kind of periodically take a look, see if there are things that are outdated, make recommendations for updates if necessary, and in the process, as you say, educate everybody to what they are. I honestly, until you mentioned it, Dan, in an email, I don't think I knew that there was an official document that set out what our I don't know, worldview or, sort of the filters that we use to make our judgments. I didn't realize there was anything in any kind of guidance document at all. So it might be worthwhile to, Julie's new to this and I'm relatively new to this board. I don't know about some of the others, but I know Amanda and Loretta came at around the same time I did. So if there's a group I'm willing to jump in and spend some time on it. If folks want to join, maybe there's one more person who wants to jump in and we can have a little subcommittee that looks at this outside, on our own time, outside of the actual meeting, and then we come back and present. That's my recommendation.
And if you want, we can have an ad hoc committee. That's fine. I have no problem. Anybody else want on?
Well, obviously me. I'm the big mouth here.
You're the chair, Dan.
Oh, damn! Now I'm the chair.
I nominate Julie.
Yeah.
Actually,
she doesn't count towards quorum though.
I think I agree. So yes. I would be very happy with that. So you want to do it, have at it. I'm all in favor.
Julie, are you up for that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, cool. All right. What, I'm sorry, Bob, what?
Don't hate me, Julie.
Yeah, okay.
No, that makes good sense. And I come at
It does.
this.
It makes great sense.
I do this, in my day job, right? I staff the committees, and if there are subcommittees, I work with each of the subcommittees. And so it does make sense. If you're willing, Julie, that would be helpful to keep us in line.
And obviously, one of the things we're going to recommend is that there should be a small training session for new CPC members, that we have a plan which has the rules in it.
Anything else? No?
Okay.
How about I look for an adjournment now?
So
I
moved.
moved second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very, very much. Dan, thank you, and Julie for the monitoring of the meeting. It was a great help.
Damn.
Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, you
Thanks,
too,
guys.
everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
All right. Stopping recording now.